Why did you launch him 80 feet in the air?
You told me to boat flip him!
I didn't tell you to launch him 78 feet in the air.
I flipped him in the boat, didn't I?
Send it to the moon.
I sent it! You said boat flip him!
Oh, yeah.
Do you fish? No. You know, people who don't fish think that fishing is lazy or boring, but it is the complete opposite. There are 100 little decisions to be made, variables to be considered, and you're never quite sure what made the difference. Did I cast too high, too far to the left? Did I reel it in too slow or too fast? Is the lure too shiny or too dull? Do I stay here or should I go over there? And you know it's not luck, but you do not know by how much. Because I am never disappointed out here, because I don't expect anything, because anything is possible. I can be hopeful out here, even in failure. Because I know if I just go out there around that tree, it might be different. Something might be different. Something I do might make a difference.
On my property, you didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
As I try to figure out how to add myself to the stage, how's everybody doing this morning, folks? Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, depending on where you are. We are live from the Dale City Fishing Show in Dale City. I know, sorry for the shaky cam. I was wiggling my leg a little too much there, trying to keep myself awake. We got up at 3 a.m. to get on down here to set up. Can we get a mic check? How are we doing here with the audio right now before I get started with the old shindig? Good morning, brother. Goss County Fishing Expo. Good morning, boss. I believe you sent me a message on Facebook last night. We're going to get you on the show here, hopefully this week, to get you up to promote. We had a bunch of requests this year at the Richmond Fishing Expo to do more shows. We even had somebody that said, like, hey, can we go on and do the Raleigh show as well? And the answer to that is yes, starting next year. Luckily, Dale City and the Richmond Fishing Expo, they let us come there at a very reasonable price of free to help promote them. But even though we get it for free, we still have to do gas, hotel, and all that, which, again, I'm not complaining, but it's more like we have to budget it into our schedule. So next year, we're going to open it up to more shows. That way we have a year to prep, budget, find a babysitter for our puppy, things like that. But I'm super happy with everyone that wants us to do more shows. I mean, I guess we're going to be doing the whole circuit this year with me and my lovely wife and our whole crew. But we're here at Dale City Show. This is a fantastic show brought on by the New Horizon Bass Anglers. I had a photo of all the information, and I'm going to bring that up right now. So the Dale City Fishing Show goes from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is in Hilldale Fire Department, 13511 Hilldale Drive, Dale City, Virginia. Come on and say hi. There's a ton of great deals, a ton of great people here as well. This is down in the Woodbridge area. Again, link in the episode description to everything that we talk about today, if that hasn't already been established. And so today, the plan is, then we got great comments here from Augusta County Fishing Expo. How far are you from us? So I have family. My whole family and everyone that I know and love is basically in Purcellville, Virginia, and Loudoun County, or the Winchester area. Personally, I live right now in Williamsport, Maryland, Hagerstown area, literally right on the Potomac River, right up there on 81. So that's basically where we live. So it's right on the 81 corridor. So just to give you guys a heads up to kind of like where I live as well. We got Carla Bird in this chat saying, sounds good to me. Well, we're going to be doing some prize giveaways as well. We're also going to be going booth to booth. How is the picture quality right now? That's something I'm always worried about with the internet. We are on, I don't know whose Wi-Fi we're on actually. We found some public Wi-Fi, and that's what we're using right now to broadcast from here. Next year, we are saving up, thanks to our lovely Patreons and some of our new sponsors that we're bringing on, to have our own Wi-Fi router or amplifier. We're going to be bringing to all these live shows just to help boost the audio quality. We're also getting better live streaming equipment. So next year, for all of the expos we're doing, and hopefully tournament weigh-ins, the production quality will be better. Each year, I try to reinvest into make the equipment that much better. So we could really just be a live broadcast for all the fishing stuff as well. But yeah, August County, I'm going to get with you tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest. Otherwise, I'll have my wife beat me up as well. So basically, August County again says, hi, Carly. How are you doing, Carly? She said she's doing fine. She's off camera, but don't worry. She's going to be coming on the show later to talk about some things really going on with her, since she's taking over more responsibility of the show. We're going to be talking about that responsibility later on. Just to get us started kind of today, before we go, again, we're going to be getting some guests on the show. We're going to be going booth to booth. I'm going to tell you guys right now, last year when we were here and we tried to go booth to booth, what's a good way to say cell signal sucked? What's a good way to say the cell signal sucked? You know what? I just said that on a hot mic, so it doesn't matter. So the cell signal sucked last year, and going booth to booth didn't work very well. So we're going to try to beta test it again. If it doesn't work, we're just going to bring people right here into the booth, and we're going to go from there. My lovely wife and our team will be making short form content just to promote all the booths. That way that can be uploaded right away, and the quality will be a lot better. So just to keep you in mind that we might not be able to go booth to booth today. So anyway, with all that said, we're going to be talking about, first and foremost, we have a lot of fishing tournaments that have happened. We have Scott Martin that's out on Lake Okeechobee right now kicking butt. We got Will Harris on Logan Martin. And then we got the MLF on Toledo Bend. It's all happening right now. Fishing season is back, baby. We got the opens that are all starting up. Yeah, it's just weird because it doesn't feel like spring yet, honestly. And I think it's because of where we're located, where it's still a little cold. And I really think spring for us really doesn't start till, and let me know in the comment section down below, when do you guys think spring starts? Does it start in March, April? To me, it's late March, early April really is when fishing really kicks off here. And you get that really bang and bite. And again, I'm just saying generically, if you're in Southern Virginia, Smith Mountain Lake, Kerr, it probably starts early March. But for most of the country, Northern Virginia, Maryland, Lake Anna, I think it's like mid to late March is really when the fishing gets absolutely just on fire in our area. So again, guys, drop some comments down below. What we're going to be doing is, as always with this stuff, we're going to be giving away prizes, Jake's Bait and Tackle, if you ask a question. And then this will be available for the re-upload as well. So first and foremost, the MLF came out with some interesting, fun stuff. They decided not to broadcast their first few days, but they didn't tell anyone. I think they just dropped this to the anglers like the day of, which is, what the hell is going on with MLF? I mean, and I'm not an MLF defender necessarily. Maybe I am. You guys let me know in the comment section down below if I'm full of shit with the MLF, but I think the concepts they have are really cool. So, and this is, let me take you back on my thoughts on MLF. First, just set the stage. When MacBooks became a thing, and when Apple really hit it with their first Macintosh computer, they had a really cool concept. Now, what Mac finally did correctly, what Apple did, is they executed on their great idea. To me, MLF has a great concept, a great idea, a premise, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to HR and business decisions with the concept. And I think there could be a book written in the future on all of the shit decisions they have made when it comes to running a business with the ideas they have. Because, you know, spoiler warnings, if you guys aren't aware, Pennsylvania has now outlawed weigh-in tournaments on 2 of their lakes, and that would be Raystown and Marsh. I think that's lake number 1 and lake number 2 when it comes to the size. When will Virginia do that? When will Maryland do that? When will all these other states start outlawing tournaments? Maybe it doesn't happen, maybe it does. But with that said, the catch-weigh release format, whether you're talking about kayak tournaments, whether you're talking about boat tournaments, I think there's validity to that in the system. What's the percentage be going forward? I don't know. But the concept is there, and it's only going to get better because technology is going to get better. If you look at kayak tournaments where all you need now is a phone and you can take a picture and send that out, those apps are starting to recognize fish patterns on their scales so that they're like, oh, nope, this is the same fish. You tried to count this twice. Like the technology is going to get better and better and better because technology goes parabolic. It does. It goes by so fast. So I think if the idea of catch-weigh release was a stock of a company, it'd kind of be like Amazon or something like that, and it's like a penny stock. That would be a stock you'd be like, you know what? This has got some validity in the future. I'm going to invest $100 in this thing to see what happens. And I think in 10, 15 years, it's going to go through the roof. Second thing about MLF that I think is really good. I think the smaller fields, what they initially started with smaller fields, and how they did that was, well, what if we just break it up? We'll do 30 one day, 30 another. Why do I like this? You can go to different lakes. I think what I don't like about a lot of tournament fishing is we're going to go to Lake Hartwell for 500 times. We're going to go to the St. Lawrence River 500 times. Granted, the St. Lawrence is a great fishery. Love the St. Lawrence River. I think, catching 30-pound bags of smallmouth, absolutely. But its idea is like, it feels like if you had to drop an alien from another planet here and talk to them about fishing, they'll be like, oh, so there's only like 5 lakes in the country? And you'd be like, well, no, that's just the only ones they go to. By splitting the field and you go 30-30, you have so many bodies of water that you can go to. I think that's a really cool idea. There's something there. I thought the show, and this is a little bit separate, where you don't tell them where you're going, that's a neat idea. Doesn't really work for the big tournament thing of Major League Fishing, but that's a cool concept. But they did learn that's not going to work for a league tournament series. So we're just going to split them up 30-30 field. So I love that. You can go to places like a Lake Anna, a Lake Gaston. Lake Gaston probably couldn't handle 200 boats, but in the MLF style where you split the field up and move them back and forth, you can do that. That's a really cool concept. So there's really cool ideas and concepts, but they weren't executed well. And then it comes down to then the business decisions. So you are a businessman. You're given these cool concepts. You're going to do a catch-weight release tournament. You're going to split the field up. And maybe these are the founding core principles of it. Now let's layer onto that every bad decision MLF has made since then, when they had an open field to run. And they have an opening in the line. They just have to run the ball 3 feet and they're in the end zone. And they keep slipping on banana peels. The biggest one first that I really think of, and then let me know in the comment section down below if you agree with me or not, the first big one that they made was when they took over FLW, and I think they bought it in August or September of the year. And I think it was 2016. No, I'm sorry. It was like 2019, 2018, I believe, is when they bought it. You guys can correct me on that in the chat. But anyway, that year they bought it right in the fall. And as soon as they bought it, they didn't respect any of the winners, any of the contingency plans, really, from FLW. Right away, as soon as that happened, it's looking back now, that was the start of, oh, this is not good. All you had to do, and that was like the first cardinal sin, because you just, and then my wife wants me to watch my language, which I agree with her. So you darn ticked a bunch of people off with those hootenannies right there. What you should have done is been like, listen, we're taking over for FLW, but we are going to spend the extra money to make sure we honor the people that were fishing these tournaments. So the Toyota winners, the BFL All-Star winners, all that stuff, we're going to make sure we honor that. And all of a sudden, you just won so much PR with a huge slate of anglers. Instead, you tick those anglers off, and now you already set yourself up against a wall. So that's number one right there of the big cardinal sin Major League Fishing did. Number two of what they did to really tick people off. You went, and this is the one that just happened really recently, is you're messing around with the prize money. You're messing around with the field size too much. You just cut how many anglers? Number three is really what they're doing right now with the whole TV thing. And now you're cutting down not only your anglers, but you're cutting down how many days that you are televising your show. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing all this? Like, to me, why they're doing all this is to basically, yeah, we can be. You can move over here. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to get the camera set up and move it around for him, get him set up, and I can bring him into the show. But yeah, so basically that to me is like where MLF really kind of went wrong. And I think it comes down to money, honestly. But what we're going to be doing now, guys, is we're going to be heading to our first guest of the show here. And let me get the camera up here, because I know you guys are probably done listening to me just talking.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty, guys. So as always, we are live from the Dale City Show, and we got our first guest. Without a moment ado, why don't you introduce yourself to the camera?
Okay, hey, this is Mark Porter. I'm with New Horizon Bass Anglers.
Mark, this is my second year here. Charlie Taylor and Dave really helped me get back in sync with you guys for these shows. This is a full house.
Yeah, it's a really good show. We've got quite a few vendors that came here today. We've got about 22 vendors, so we got a pretty full house, and we're going to be open here till 1 o'clock this afternoon.
How did you take this over, or when did you take this over? When did you take the show over from? Because Dave ran it, right?
Bob Petty used to run this show. Yeah, he used to run this show, and I believe this is my first year with the club, but I believe that our club took over about 10 years from Bob, 10 years ago.
That's a lot of responsibility. Why'd you do that?
Well, because we're raising money for our youth foundation. Mm-hmm. All the money that we make and all the money we take in from the vendors and the people that come in, it all goes to our youth foundation. So everything that we get today is tax deductible. And what we do is we hold 2 kids tournaments at Lake Fairfax every summer. And just about every kid that shows up walks away with a tackle box or a rod and reel, lures. So it's we use all the money for those 2 tournaments. First weekend in June and the second weekend of July.
How long have you been doing that for? Because I remember I actually came in second place when I was about this tall at Lake Fairfax. I mean, so I'm saying it's been a while that you've been doing this.
It's been a while. That's Charlie Taylor started this club 33 years ago. And so we've been, I don't know how long they've been doing the kids tournament, but I think it's been about that long. And this show here has been, I think this is the 28th year in a row that this show's been here.
It's absolutely insane the kind of turnout that you've consistently had here. And then as always, guys, just let me know how the audio sounds as well. I'm not going to turn it up too much because last time at Richmond, I turned it up so much you could hear me breathe. So in post-production, I'll crank up the volume a little bit more, but just try to turn it up at home. Yeah, it's so cool to see something like this, these local shows. And I've hit this 1,000 times when I was at Richmond and stuff. Like, you don't have to go to ICAST. If you live near the Potomac River, going to your local shows, you're going to gain more knowledge and more insight than trying to travel to like the Bassmaster Expo.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of local guys here that build their own and make their own lures, tie their own flies, and they tie their own spinner baits, crank baits, and they paint the colors. So they're knowledgeable about the colors that work on the Potomac River and the local like Occoquan Reservoir. So you get a lot of guys with local knowledge here.
How did you get into fishing?
I got into fishing when I was just a kid, and I started fishing bass tournaments back in the 80s with Virginia Bass Federation, and I was actually in a club that Charlie Taylor was in back in the mid-80s. So it's been that long, and then I kind of got out of it, but I met a guy on the Occoquan Reservoir last year that was in New Horizon, and he told me, he goes, you should join the club. So I've been with the club for a little over a year.
That's freaking awesome. Like, and so what is your history on these bodies of water around here? Have you fished the Potomac and the Res a lot?
So the club, we have about 25 tournaments each year, and probably 15 of them on the Potomac. So we do a lot of fishing on the Potomac. Everybody's local, everybody likes Potomac. We can always go out and catch a lot of fish, so it's very popular with the club.
How did the Potomac fish last year for you guys?
We did pretty well in the Potomac. We had once the grass started coming up in the late spring and summer, most of us could go out and catch a limit, and decent fish, probably 3 to 4 pounds.
That's not bad at all, because I know the grass is so important there, and in years past, honestly, it's been sparse. What do you think the grass is going to be like this year?
It's different every year, so we really don't know until it comes up. But last year there was a lot of grass in a lot of places, and pretty much any place you find the grass, you're going to find the bass as well.
No, that's 100% accurate. Again, I know you're super busy, and I want to make sure that I don't keep you from all your fans. But just again, if people want to come down here or they want to donate to the club for the Youth Foundation, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can. We have an ad in Woods and Waters magazine. If you see that, there's a PayPal address that you can make donations to, or you can come down to the firehouse. We're on the corner of Hillendale and Dale Boulevard in Dale City, and make your donations, or you can mail in a check to the club, make it out to NHBA, New Horizon Bass Anglers Youth Foundation.
Sir, thank you so much for your time. And then, guys, as always, link in the episode description to everything that we talked about today. We'll be bringing you more guests, and we'll be going booth to booth here shortly. We're going to go, and then,
Thanks, Thomas, for having me.
You're welcome, sir. Get going there. Sorry, I had to mute that mic, guys, as I moved around here. So, yeah, this is an absolute fantastic show that we have going on here. And then we actually have, I think we have a legend in the, we got, hold on a second. Sorry, I had to communicate with my wife with sign language. It's sometimes the only way that we can we can communicate. Yeah, people know that. Anyway, guys, back to what we were talking about earlier. So yeah, I think MLF is an absolute firestorm right now. I honestly don't know what they can do to really recover their reputation, and it's sad. I'm really depressed about that. But we'll see what happens. We do have a couple more guests that are about to come on here shortly. So just hang tight. We got, hopefully we got Sela coming in here as well. I see her in the crowd. That's what I enjoy about doing these live streams. You never know who's going to be coming on the show. So what we're going to be doing here is we do have some special guests coming in. We have spinnerbait vendors, so many vendors that we're going to have. So hang tight. We're going on a short 5-minute commercial break, and then we're going to be right back.
did you launch him 80
You
feet in
told
the
me
air?
to boat flip him.
I didn't tell you to launch him 78
I
feet
flipped
in the
him in
air.
the boat, didn't I?
Send it to the moon.
I sent it. You said boat flip him.
Oh, yeah.
Do you fish? No. People who don't fish think that fishing is lazy or boring, but it is the complete opposite. There are 100 little decisions to be made, variables to be considered, and you're never quite sure what made the difference. Did I cast too high, too far to the left? Did I reel it in too slow or too fast? Is the lure too shiny or too dull? Do I stay here or should I go over there? And it's not luck, but you do not know by how much. Because I am never disappointed out here. Because I don't expect anything. Because anything is possible. I can be hopeful out here, even in failure. Because I know if I just go out there around that tree, it might be different. Something might be different. Something I do might make a difference.
On my property, you didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
And we are back. How is everybody doing today? This is absolutely crazy here. We have a ton of people checking out, a ton of vendors. We got a couple of other guests that we're going to be having on the show as well. We are going to hopefully be getting on the legend Charlie Taylor. He's going to be coming on in studio. I think I see CeeLo Johnson here as well, the legend. We're going to try to get her on. I think this is our plan. If you guys want, we are going to be going booth to booth now. So we are going to be getting the camera set up, and we're going to be trying to do the booth to booth thing to see if that kind of works out. Let me make confirmation with my wife to see if she's okay with that. Awesome. Hold on one second, guys. So anyway, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going booth to booth. We're going to be trying out the cameras as well, and just to be able to show you guys all the fancy products. We're going to be using this stream as well, so just hang tight. We're going to be getting that. I had to use the restroom, so that's why I kind of had to bounce off the screen real quick. So we'll be right back. Stay here. Stay put. We're going to be going booth to booth.
the show. Woohoo! Can you hear me? Awesome. It's working. Let's go.
I'm gonna mute. Oh, all right. So we have audio all set up. So we're gonna be going booth to booth here. We're gonna be talking to some of the vendors that we got, and then we'll be coming back here for a small commercial break, and then we're gonna get into interviews as well. So I'm gonna mute my mic, and then yeah, we'll see you soon, shortly.
Can you still hear me? Want to make sure everything's good. All right. I hit a button by accident. I do that sometimes. There we go. Now we're clear. Take this one. There you go. Good job.
All righty, we good to go?
Yep.
Here.
All right.
I'm gonna be handing you this right here.
I told the Cabela's rep that they're going to have to come on. They're not too thrilled about it.
No,
but
they'll-
I told them to emotionally prepare themselves.
They'll be coming on. What pocket you got? Awesome. All right, here we go. We're moving on. All right, we're gonna be going to a guy that I know is a little. He's talkative. He's chatty. We're gonna talk to David Smith.
All right.
He's a big-time lure creator right here. Everything right here. This is all David Smith right here. And we're going to make sure we walk slow because I know the cell service is a little spotty here, guys, so we're going to just try to walk as slow as possible. So I'll take this mic from you right here. And we'll be trying to get this guy in the show. And what you don't understand, this is all his booth, which is absolutely insane. He actually had an episode that just launched yesterday, which talked about all of the baits that you can't really buy anymore, including all these right through here. You have all these crankbaits, all these topwaters, devil horses. None of this stuff can actually be bought right now. Absolutely crazy. You might be going, Dave used them. If Dave uses the rod, it's a special rod. That's how Dave's stuff works. He's got to find. Oh, here we go. Heidi, we gotta get that person on the show.
Talk about Tiger Fingers.
Huh? We're talking about Tiger Craigs. Well, we gotta get Greg on. Greg's talking too much is the problem. You better tackle him. Yeah, we're going to be doing this again. I do love how Heidi had to tackle you. It's like she ain't gonna come on the show.
From you again, didn't she?
So there was a big announcement I heard that Richmond Expo, you guys won Best in Show, correct?
That is correct, with the blue crab.
Ooh, I would love to show everyone at home
Tidal
which one
water
that is.
bomb. Let's get one out of the box. If I can do that. And there we are. Modeled after a real blue crab in the water. And that goes for our James, Chickahominy, Potomac, Pamunkey, Mattaponi, because the whole river is full of crabs in the summer.
How long does it take you guys to paint something like that?
Usually I'll do it in stages because it's like 7 colors on this bait.
Holy Lord.
All right, it starts out with the base, then I'll run the base on it. Then I'll shoot a belly color. Then I haze the top, haze it again, come back on the side, then add the stripes, then come back with your yellow and your blue.
That's insane.
But I do them in a stage where I'll have 10 or 20 of them, and they'll go in a stage. And then by the time I'm done with that, I go right back two and start the process. But these, because the thickness of the paint on it with the layering of the colors, I spray. Heidi and them use, you've heard the bait painters talk about color shift. Well, what it does when you put color shift on it, it makes the paint look like it runs together. I do what you call a wet spray, where my colors don't dry all the way, and I spray the other color while the other color is wet. So that's where you see that fade that comes down to it.
It's like a blend.
It's like Bob Ross, right? With the,
I know.
the oil stuff.
Bob Ross and Craig.
So that's the way that I do it. Heidi uses a lot of color shift. She likes color shift. I sometimes shoot with too much pressure to use color shift, and I don't like using it, so I do it wet.
Different styles.
That's just me.
And then the frogs, like, how did you guys get into this?
That was actually sent, a frog was sent to us, and we started just messing with them a little bit, and we got into a thing where I told Heidi, I said, I don't want a ton of colors because I don't want to have 50 different frogs. Just go natural looking with your frog color. Then we got into it. A friend of ours started putting skirts on them for us. And then when we were at the Richmond show, a fella from Alabama, which was Spankum Jigs, he had Heidi over there, and he said, here, I'll show you how to tie those things. So he sat right there and showed Heidi how to put the things on.
That's so freaking
so
cool.
now Heidi, she just does them at the house now all the time.
Wow.
So.
And then I think you guys are getting into swim baits as well?
Yes, we've had a few. We don't do a ton of swim baits. We sold quite a few at the Richmond show. But no, we don't do a ton of them. We tend to use, stay with our standard stuff. But they're fun to paint, a little break in the monotony.
Now, out of curiosity, you say you do a little bit of them. Swim baits, what's nice about them is one of them can go for like $2,000. It's insane prices. Have you ever thought about that when the swim baits really got like hot last year about, oh, maybe I should dabble in this?
Well, yeah, but you got so many people that are into the swim bait stuff, and that's all cool, well, and fine. We don't tend to go that way with our painting. Yeah, they're easier to paint, and now it's a ton of people in the swim bait gig.
Massive.
A ton. And the problem that I see with the swim bait with us is the prices that we have, I consider that to be reasonable.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are just through the ceiling. I think a lot of guys think because it costs a whole lot more money, it's a lot better.
I agree with that, yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and jam them through the ceiling for the sake of money on it.
I mean, it's like $2,000 on eBay for something. This is insane.
Yeah, and I don't hunt many lures down. If I get hung up, I hung up some over at Lake Chesden, and I broke it off, and it was March. And a friend of mine said, well, are you going to go in and get it? I'm like, no. He didn't have a lure retriever. I had one, but it was in my boat. He said, I can't believe you're not going to get that bait. I was like, I own a crankbait company. What am I worried about? I'll just go grab one out of the box, dude.
And I also love how you guys do these tying for your trailer hooks, because for topwater, poppers, things like that, it's so important to get like that proper feathering.
Sure.
What colors do you like the most? Like the ones that you're most proud of that you have for your
The ones, we love the blues when we do the blue backing, but the one with the bluegill, and it's got the orange and everything, what we try to do is coordinate it with the color of the crankbait. So when she starts adding feathers and all that to it, she'll go that route with it. Most of the time, though, when you see trailer hooks in the stores, they are so scraggly looking. They got a little bit of hairs on them, maybe a feather. There's nothing to them. Then we started doing them for a guy who loved Rico baits, and they have really nothing against them. The feathers come out. They don't stay in there, so we started doing tails for him. And then all of a sudden it evolved to where Heidi got into where she just loves it. She loves sitting there tying that stuff, and she would just sit there for hours and do it.
What type of treble hooks do you use? Is there a specific
they're either going to be Eagle Claw laser 3 times strong, or there'll be VMCs.
VMCs.
Hooks are one of our hardest things to acquire at a reasonable price. Sure, you know, we have people say, well, you need to put Gamakatsu on there. Well, your margin in these crankbaits, you start putting dollar per piece crank hooks that are higher, then you start pricing yourself out.
Yeah.
If you're a big fan of Gamakatsu or VMCs or mustads, you're going to buy the bait, you're going to go home and take them off and put them on.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is I think that's such a preference. Because like, are you going to want round bend? You want triple grips? Like, and that's why it's like I don't personally care what they come with because I'm going to change them out anyway.
That's right.
And so yeah, I 100% agree with that. Because if you're a guy that's going to be spending this much for this kind of color, yeah, adjust your hook. Because even if they were perfect hooks, they're going to get dull, and you're going to want to change them out again either way.
That's right.
But no, guys, come on, check out Tiger Crankbaits. Absolutely amazing selection here. Carl, you got any questions for them or anything like that?
No questions.
No questions? All right.
All
We're going to
right.
keep on moving
Thanks
on here.
again. Good
No,
seeing
you're
you.
very welcome, guys. Absolutely will. All right, let's keep on moving on down here. You can hold this one if you want. We're going to be getting on the legend Charlie Taylor as well. Don't worry, guys. We're going to be getting him on as well. We're looking through here. What other stuff would you guys like to see? I think we got this whole couple right here. We should probably talk to. Let's. Sorry, I'm not on my medication today, so we're working on it. Excuse me. Could we talk to you about your booth? We're live right now. Would you guys be interested in talking about what you got? Hi. We're live streaming this thing right now to promote it. So we were curious if you'd like to talk about what you got here. You're just talking to that mic right there.
A big variety of stuff. I've got some hand-painted lures. I make all the spinner baits, all of these crankbaits. I picked up. I bought a collection, but I was just trying to sell these, get rid of them. But got some reels, good prices on everything.
What is your favorite thing that you're most proud of that you tied?
Probably the crankbaits that I paint with airbrush.
Oh wow!
So,
what color specifically?
I've got a small selection left now. I like this one.
That's pretty.
That's a cool color.
Yeah. So I had a bunch of these, but we had a show in Fredericksburg last weekend, and just about sold out of these. Sold about what I had, so that's all I got left right now.
That color is hot. That is an absolute beautiful color.
Yeah, they sell pretty good. That color sells good. You know, especially what you're looking for. People who fish cold water, they like red. Then people who fish ponds, they like something real colorful like that. And it's just different colors, you know, depending on where you fish.
And then, guys, yeah, come on down to Dale City. Expo's here till 1. I was about to say 1 a.m. My apologies. I need more caffeine. Till 1 p.m. today. Come on down here while it's all still here. You might want to hurry because that color is hot. I might buy them all up before we leave because that I just got. How did you come up with that design? Honestly, what brought that to mind?
I don't know. I just when I paint these things, what I do is I put a primer on them, and I'll prime 6 of them at a time. So then I'll just start working with, say I'm working with the green, I'll start with like this tag, the green, and I'll do one this color, and then I'll start with the base, the green on this color, and then I put the orange on it and the black. I like to do everything with an airbrush.
That's really awesome. And then just for people at home, they find you. What's the name of your? Do you have a name of a company that you do this with, or what are the name of your lures?
No, just I just do them just as a hobby.
Just a hobby?
Just a hobby.
All right. Well, sir, thank you so much. We're gonna keep moving on and get all the other booths, but come on down here, guys, and come take a look at all this. I think we got David Smith. We're gonna try to get David Smith. I got Sela Johnson somewhere here. I need to get Sela. Again, I have a speed. I have something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong with me. My wife can attend to that as well. So let's get Dave on, and let's try to get her on again to talk to her about that. I think there's actually a dog in a kayak now. Yep, there's a dog in a kayak. You want to go over there? Let's also get over here too. Actually, we got Dave there. We got to get Dave on. And then let's start right here, Carly. Sir, you might. We're live streaming this right now. Would you be okay to talk about this? All right, here you go, sir. All right, so this is Fishing the DMV. We're here at the Dale City Show. My God, these are some cool baits. Just talk about it and what you do.
Thank you. My name is James Count. Company name is MX Plugs, presently now in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
I'm a custom plug maker. Everything I make is from wood. Custom design, custom made. I make plugs for freshwater fish, such as largemouth bass. You can start down here. Largemouth bass. These plugs right here, these are popping corks. Popping corks for redfish. Drums,
Oh, that's so
trout.
cool.
Popping cork that I make. In addition to it being a popping cork where you put a teaser on the end, I also have a treble hook because quite often the fish will bite the popper itself. And with a treble hook on the popper, you have the opportunity for a double header.
Nice.
Which is much more exciting.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to make something like this?
I do an old school process. After I turn the wood, I soak it in a wood sealer for about 12 hours.
12 hours?
And
Wow.
then it dries for about 36 hours. This way you can cut the plug completely in half and it will still float, it doesn't absorb any water. These plugs are a through-hole design where the wire runs through the entire plug and there's a swivel in the middle.
That's really cool.
So nothing breaks loose.
I'm afraid to fish, so I want to hang it up on a fireplace. These things are freaking cool looking.
What I normally tell people is to fish it first, catch a fish, and then put it on the fire.
Oh man. And then how do you work? Is this more like this is a walking style bait,
Walking style bait.
Yeah.
It walks back and forth.
Oh,
These
so
here
cool.
are pencil poppers.
Oh
Most of the
wow.
plugs are weighted in the tail, so they're great for casting. These are the larger pencil poppers. Up here we have poppers with I do a concave face because I like to produce a great flash. I'm not interested in the popping sound. I want to splash like bait is trying to get away. So it's more of an action presentation. I'm looking for a reaction strike all the time.
It's absolutely crazy. Let's keep moving on over here.
I have another product over here, which is my original design. This is called a pop and swim. You can fish it like a popper. You can drop it in the water and sit, and the tail produces all the action. You can give it a quick retrieve, and as you retrieve it, it creates a wide V wake behind it, as well as the tail moves in the current. This is what I call a bass magnet.
That is so freaking cool. And then,
This is the trick.
oh, I love all this. We're buying a couple of
In
these.
addition to fishing lures, I also do other items such as corkscrew bottle stoppers, combination corkscrew with the bottle stopper. I do bottle openers.
That is so cool.
I do keychains. I also do corn cob holders.
Corn cob.
Oh, that's so cool.
I do oyster shuckers.
Well, I know where I'm spending my money. That's the problem when I do this stuff, guys, is I always leave poor. This is absolutely cool. What is the name of your business again, just for people that are wanting to come down and find you? Can they find you on social media at all as well?
Find me at mxplugs.com.
mxplugs.com.
The name MX came from the MX missile when I was in the military.
Cool.
The military had an MX missile for a powerful weapon. At the time, I was a martial artist, and I was the second powerful weapon that they had.
Oh, cool.
That's so awesome.
That's how I got the name.
Well, sir, thank you so much.
Thank
Again,
you very much.
and then guys, come on down. Come take a look at all these really cool baits here. We're going to keep moving on. We'll make sure we hit all the vendors here to help promote them. But I know I'm coming back and at least getting a wine cork as well. This is so freaking cool. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
mxplugs.com.
mxplugs.com. Come on down here and check them out. Thank you, sir. Let's see. Do you want to be famous? Here, hold this right here. I want you to walk me through this kayak. So what do we got here?
We canoe unlimited.
So is this your specific kayak that you got here?
This is my dad's.
Oh, this is your brother's? Well, we're gonna call it yours now. Oh, your dad's? Well, it's yours now. So, well, it'll be someday. So I really like this torpedo setup you got here with the Yak Attack equipment as well. You know, kind of walk through like your favorite features.
I like this little Yak Attack box right here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
This storage box.
Oh, dang, look at that. It's like a $4 box with $500 worth of swim baits in there. Is that brand new, the Yak Attack? That's really cool.
We also have this thing, the Torpedo.
Okay, so this is actually what actually makes the Torpedo work? Okay, cool. I didn't know it was wired. That's interesting. Oh, wow. And then something I think is really neat that I need to get from my board is the clip for actually your ID. That's actually a really neat little feature. And I like the GoPro. Oh, I like that little GoPro mount you have here as well. What's your favorite feature that are on these kayaks?
I don't know yet.
Would it be the motor? Would it be
I like
the rod? The motor?
It goes really fast with these.
How fast can you get this thing?
6 miles per hour.
That's not bad at all. Especially when your dad's on it. There probably goes a lot faster. What's your favorite bait to throw in March? You need to pick one bait. Would it be a swim bait, jerk bait, or swim bait? What's your favorite type of swim bait?
I like the bluegills and bull shads.
The bull shads? Oh, dude, that's nice. What's the biggest fish you caught on it?
I think it's like a 4-pounder.
Where?
Or like, actually, it's 2 point. I forgot. It was like 3. Actually, no, it's 3.5 pounds.
You have to always round up. Always round up on it. Okay, we'll go 3 pounds. Where'd you catch it from?
It was a pond in my neighborhood.
Oh, cool. I didn't know they had a lot of ponds in that area. I grew up, they didn't have as many ponds. This is actually really awesome. Now, are you gonna be fishing NVKVA this year?
I don't know yet. Maybe.
Because yeah, they could definitely be using you to actually. You need to be taking home some of this money from all these old guys. Now, before I let you go and we start hitting the rest of these booths here, what is one fishing goal that you have for this year? It could be catching something, fishing a tournament.
Trying to get at least like a 5-pound bass.
Oh, so you'll easily catch that. I mean, that's a doable goal. That's a real doable goal. I'm trying to get her to catch her first big fish as well. So we'll see. We may have to have you guys have a fish off. That would be insane. Yeah. Or we could have him and his dad fish off. That'd be awesome. At a pond. That'd be cool. No kayaks, bank fishing. First one to catch one wins. That would be intense. But sir, thank you so much. If you want to come see this guy and get his autograph, he's going to be here all day with this kayak. I think he's selling his dad's kayak to put it towards his stuff. I don't know. You can ask him. But sir, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep on keeping on here. We got a lot of stuff going on here. Let's go pester this person here. Oh, that thing was haunting.
I know, that's creepy.
I don't know. I said that on live mic, but I don't care.
Eye shine frost.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's googly eyes.
So let us get on back. Let's see if we can get. You want to try to see if we can get some people into the studio now? Charlie, we're gonna get. Let's wait till a little bit closer to the end of the day when things start to really calm down here a little bit. Let's look on. Hey, we're here with Fishing the DMV. We're live streaming this thing to help promote it. Would you be interested in just talking about the baits that you have here?
I can talk about, sure. Yes.
Yes. You don't have to have the camera in your face. We're just gonna look at the baits.
So, I am the official, unofficial representative of the Crunks crankbaits. These are hand painted by my husband. He is a absolute fishing fanatic, and these are his wonderful crankbaits. We got different things. We got some rock crawlers.
Ooh, wow.
At the end, and then we got the wiggle worts. And we have some deep dives, and we got some S-cranks.
Now,
and we got some cool stuff going on. He loves it.
Now, do you paint these? Are you just the brains of the operation, helping with management?
I am the, chief fishing officer, CFO. You know, I am just the person who says, I like the colors, I think they're beautiful. However, there is a method to his madness, and this guy right here can better explain it.
You can take the mic if you'd like. Hold on to that bad boy. There we go.
Sure.
So, Yeah, what we got going on here?
Yeah, so I started painting crankbaits about 20 years ago because I like fishing crankbaits and I wanted packages. And so it started being able to paint things such as, different types of red crankbaits here with the red crawls. Now you'll find a lot of these red crawls that you will see on the store shelves, but what you won't find is I trick them out just a little bit where you start to have a molting type of crawl that allows it to be just a little bit different. So it's the same as far as red. Red works very well in the spring, but it's just a little bit different.
And spoiler, if you guys that didn't know or just moved to the area, this type of crankbait here, the Mans, is pretty hot on the river, I've heard a couple of times. So, but I don't think it comes in that type of red either. Like, that's a beautiful red color.
Yeah, and it's a specialized red, so that's a red.
Boop, boop. Alrighty, guys, we're back right now. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Carly, do the headsets work?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, perfect. That was the one thing I was thinking about doing for the guests from now on, just so they can hear me better and I don't have to yell. I'll just put the
It's
headsets on.
going to be so much better.
Yeah, that's why. So technically, I wanted to talk to my lovely wife, but I also wanted to beta test the equipment here. There's some really cool baits here. Like, what do you think about having these smaller shows comparatively to the Richmond Expo?
I think there's a time and a place for everything, and I think that this show is perfect for like this time of year and then the location that it's at. And it's also for a great cause. Like at the end of the day, like Richmond Expo was more so for the vendor themselves to like turn a profit, whereas this has an actual, charity cause at the end of the day, and they're raising money to support a great cause.
It really is, and it's interesting when we go from, we've been to ICAST, we're going to ICAST again this year. We missed a year, but we're going to go back. We've done Richmond twice now. these shows have a very intimate feel to them that it's not like overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah.
Cozy, maybe cozy is the word I'm looking for, compared to like Richmond and ICAST, where it's like very big. And like, I think it's also the energy level in the room. You know, I'm like a lab or something like that. I feed off the energy in the room. And when you're at Richmond, it's like you can feel it, especially on Saturday when it was just like, boom.
Yeah.
And it was intense,
Yeah.
super intense.
High energy everywhere. Tons of people.
Yes, absolutely. So many people. So guys, you know, I just wanted to bring her on real quick. Really, and then also like roles and responsibilities going forward. Spoiler, fishing the DMV is getting a little bit bigger. So just to help with the flow and everything, she already knows this. She's going to help me out with contacts and things like that. So if you are interested in reaching out to the show, getting a hold of me, things like that, she's going to be helping out with that as well. So if you're here at the Dale City show, you know, she's here to take contact information while I'm live streaming. Also, we'll be giving out her contact information at Monday Night Live.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, during Monday Night Live, we'll be giving away some contact information. Again, specific. It's not her personal stuff, but that way you guys know that she's going to be helping talk on my behalf, just to make sure we're a little more consistent there. We do have a big announcement that will be happening during Monday Night Live, so be ready for that as well. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be taking a short commercial break, and I'm thinking at 10:30 we're going to be going to having some guests on. We got most of the booths here. We're going to be getting some more short
I would say
form.
half the booths.
About
You
half.
can't say most.
You got most?
Definitely half.
Half? Okay. Did you think would you guys, in the comment section down below, would you guys like to see more booths? Do you think we should do a few more booths?
I mean, yeah, I definitely think we have time for more booths. Let's bring on some guests first, and then depending on the time after, maybe we'll finish up and wrap it up with the second half of the booths here.
Cool. Because what I was hoping to do too for some of these fantastic guests, especially the ones that have an online presence, we could do some shorts and then put their information in the link. Since I think our live stream went completely
It did.
At one of the booths.
We lost the very last booth. We lost half of that conversation.
Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back through for these two right over here, which I don't know why I'm pointing, but she knows. And we'll make sure we get some short form content and we'll put a link in the episode description just so we can promote them as best we can. But anyway, so this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break while I go harvest some guests, and we're going to be back here shortly. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to my lovely wife for tagging along for this. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see, just let me know as well. But again, we're going to take a short little break, and we'll be right back. Boop.
launch him 80
You
feet in
told
the
me
air.
to boat flip him!
I didn't tell you to launch him 78
I
feet in
flipped
the
him
air.
in the boat, didn't I?
Send it to the moon.
I sent it! You said boat flip him!
Oh, yeah.
Do you fish? No. You know, people who don't fish think that fishing is lazy or boring, but it is the complete opposite. There are 100 little decisions to be made, variables to be considered, and you're never quite sure what made the difference. Did I cast too high, too far to the left? Did I reel it in too slow or too fast? Is the lure too shiny or too dull? Do I stay here or should I go over there? And you know it's not luck, but you do not know by how much. Because I am never disappointed out here. Because I don't expect anything. Because anything is possible. I can be hopeful out here, even in failure. Because I know if I just go out there around that tree, it might be different. Something might be different. Something I do might make a difference.
On my property, you didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
How did you launch him 80
You
feet
told
in
me
the air?
to boat flip him!
I didn't tell you to launch him 78 feet.
Alrighty, guys. Sorry about the long wait. We are back here ready to go at the Dale City Fishing Show. And I have on a fan favorite. I don't know. You've been on like, what, 3 or 4 times at this point? I mean, it's been more than once for sure. Again, if you guys don't know who this is, living under a rock, New Horizon Boat Builds, does some of the best custom wiring absolutely in the area. How have you been, boss?
I've been great.
You look like you've been busy. Every time I've been trying all morning, guys, to kind of like go pull him away, but when he has a line of people like trying to talk to him, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's been really busy for the turnout that we've had this morning, but yeah, it's been a conveyor belt of business.
Yeah, the last time I talked to you was like late November, early December. How has business been really going into this year?
It's a substantial increase. Right now, we're about 3 weeks out with lined up clients, and then we have a few that are lined up with specific time frames a few months from now. And we're doing everything from bass boats to we've got our first client has a custom-built river raptor for the Susquehanna.
Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that one.
That it's definitely going to be one of the finest pieces of work that I've done.
What does he want done to it?
So we're adding, and this is where the 6 batteries comes in. So we're adding 2 10-foot Minn Kota Talons, 2 Helix 12s, Helix 10, Mega 360, and I've engineered a battery switching system. So we'll have 3 trolling motor batteries that are lead acid, 12 volts, and we'll have an isolation switch on the positive and negative feed of the trolling motor to switch over to a 3680 amp hour lithium battery.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And that's something, we talked about just before we started, we went live here, and it was something that happened after the last time we were on the show. I think Milliken really popularized it, I believe, which is this 16-volt lithium battery that I believe he was running for his live scope, but I could be wrong, and I would love to get your views on that setup.
So it is live scope. So with Humminbird, Lowrance, and Garmin, they have a range of operating voltage for all of these systems that run between 12 and I believe 22 to 24 volts. So what's actually happening is there are a few people who are upgrading to 16 volt, 230 amp hour batteries, or 16 volt, 80 amp batteries. And I'll get to the 80 amp because you're thinking, well, you're having less of an amp, basically wattage use compared to something that's got a higher rating. So with live scope, what's happening with a increased voltage is 2 things. One, it's increasing the pixel input. So it's giving you a clear resolution because of that higher voltage, which was basically figured out from trial and error from basically bass fishermen. But when you talk with any of these manufacturers, they just recommend that you stay in that operating range. Otherwise, if you're getting above that, you're frying your equipment. So that's a main reason why you're getting actually a clearer picture with the 16 compared to the 12. And there's a few other factors with interference, and if you have other electronics and 2D sonar that may be running up at your bow or wherever you're utilizing forward facing, because now it seems to be mounted everywhere on a bass boat.
And hopefully this doesn't cut into your business. Is it going too far? Where I saw this boat where this guy had 7, he had 2 that were actually mounted to his transom, so they were going out each way off the back. He had a couple up front. My God, that's a lot.
Yeah,
how do you charge? Okay, if you wanted one battery just for one black box, if you have multiple black boxes, are you connecting that all to the same battery, or do you need an extra battery for each black box?
It depends on the graph size and the equipment itself, and there's several calculations that you can run to actually determine if you're going to have a power source that can basically have those systems operate. And every setup has its
pros and cons.
I would say yes. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Some that, depending on the capacity of the battery, you can run multiple graphs. You can run 2 LiveScope transducers, 2 GLS10 modules if you have to. But it definitely could get into running 2 different dedicated batteries just for your electronics alone.
Going back to the 16 volt, a question that I've seen in my comment section before with the 16 volt is, when someone hears 16 volt and maybe they just don't understand the battery terminology, they're like, well, that's not a 12 volt battery, so I need a different type of charging system or wiring system for that. How does having one 16 volt with all your other 12 volt batteries, does it affect anything when it comes to setup and how you charge them?
No. So the chargers that are basically, they operate on a bank, which and put it in plain terms is basically its own dedicated circuit. So that charger recognizes that it's charging, say, a 12 volt lead acid, a 12 volt lithium, and then a 16 volt lithium as well. So there's no interference between, and I had a gentleman ask me about this earlier today. it really protects itself, but you have to make sure that that charger is compatible with that battery. And it's the best thing you can do is call the manufacturer and say, hey, I want a Minn Kota Precision. Is this compatible? And if it's a yes or a no, then that's the way that you want to go with it.
When you go to the 6 battery setup, which I believe, honestly, for at least the higher end, everyone, I think you're going to see more 6 batteries. Do you think it's going to have to be a power pole charge, or do you think Minn Kota is going to come up with a 6 bank? And until that day happens, how are you charging 6 batteries, or how did you do it?
So with this boat in particular, the trolling motor batteries and the electronic batteries are located in a forward center compartment. Starting battery is located in the stern, so you will need two separate chargers, which you'd have a 5 bank up front, you'd have a single bank in the back. There are certain chargers, the name's skipping me right now, I apologize, but where you can actually charge off of your starting. So it's able to connect to a lead acid and then to a lithium.
So like a power pole charge type of deal, sort of speak.
Similar, yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Were they the first ones to come up with that technology, or was it they took it from another company?
I don't have a solid answer on that, but just the technology on its own, I'm leaning in the direction that it was something that they engineered in their own way. But
so it's not brand new?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's basically a way to transfer DC power to lithium, which is also DC, but it's a more sensitive, basically smartphone. We're talking landlines to, an iPhone 14 or whatever they're at now.
How much is lithium actually, let me show how I'm going to reword this question. Is lithium the next evolution in boat technology where it's like you should get this because it is a better use of your money for the equipment you have, or is it just a fad? Like it's just the hot thing that people are trying to push?
It's trending in the direction that it's going to take over and make AGM and lead acid obsolete, in my full professional opinion. What's happened now is, and this goes across all industries, but you have such a new technology that we're not at a way to mass produce it efficiently. So you're dealing with super high prices, and mainly we've really dialed in the science between deep cycle, but not with starting. And there's a few companies who have gotten into lithium starting batteries. And the reason behind that is when you start your outboard, whether it be a 9.9 or a 250, what's happening is the battery management system, which is basically the brains, the PLC, the brains of the battery, it senses it as overcurrent and says, oh, there's a short. We have to shut down. Because whenever you start a motor, there's such high resistance and an inrush current that if your operating system is, let's say, 20 amps, it's going to maybe 3 times that amount. So it's sensing that there's something wrong. But once that technology is dialed in and it's mass available to the public, you're going to see those prices come down, and just the efficiency in lithium alone compared to AGM or lead acid, you'll see that adopted just industry wide.
I know a lot of people at home are probably a little nervous about the cost for lithium, even though it is coming down a little bit. When it comes to off-season, because we don't live in Florida where you can fish year-round, a lot of people do stop fishing, let's say late November till March. So let's say you stop fishing. Is there anything in particular with lithiums you need to do to take care of them so they're ready for spring?
Yes. You do not want to charge that battery when it's under 32 degrees. So if you keep that boat outside, that's not the type of battery that needs to be plugged in at all times. Compared to lead acid. Now, lead acid you can store outside, and you can apply a float charge to that source, and you're perfectly fine. It's not maintenance free, but it's not bad to have to deal with. But with lithium, there are certain environments that you do not want to charge it in, especially when it comes to low temperatures, and you do not want to have that charged in 24/7. You can basically charge it once maybe twice a week, depending on use. Once you have that full charge, you can back off of it, make your disconnects, and not have to actually charge that battery for more than 2 days at a time, in my opinion.
Let's get. I want to run through some situations because I'm assuming there's a bunch of people at home, and we have. My goodness, we got 30 people on Instagram. Yeah, guys, you guys are insane. So we got about 40 people watching right now, which ain't too bad. But I know a lot of people are going to watch this in the re-upload as well. You're fishing a multi-day tournament. You are practicing Thursday, Friday, and then you're going to be fishing Saturday, Sunday. You charge up your boat and you head down to the lake on Thursday and you fish on Thursday. When are you thinking about charging your lithium if you have a full lithium setup and you have a 2-day tournament on Saturday, Sunday, but you're pre-fishing as well?
So after every use, I would charge them until they're at their green light capacity, and then I'd unplug them. And if you're doing multiple days in a row, if you charge at night and fish during the day, you're fine. But it's just charging at long periods of time without use.
So if you get home on a Monday and plug it in, you don't want to leave that plugged in until Saturday next week. Gotcha. And then a lot of people do actually like to fish like the winter series. So I think it's interesting what you said about 32 degrees. If you keep your boat outside and you do have lithiums, like how do you handle if you're going to fish Lake Anna winter series, but it's super cold that week? What would you do?
I would try and figure out if the actual overall temperature inside of your boat, because now the ambient air temperature could be in the 20s, but that temperature might be more. It might be it's never going to be less, but it might be a little bit more in that compartment itself. It's a general rule of thumb to try and avoid that the best you can, but it's definitely something that you don't want to practice often.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really good knowledge. I never even thought about that with my battery setup. The other thing would be, again, I don't think it's just Milliken that kind of like made this sexy, but you talk about where they call them like electric brakes, but they're putting trolling motors on power poles now to stop them. So when they're live scoping at 100 miles an hour on the trolling motor, they can slam brakes on. I looked at that. I'm like, my God, where are they taking the juice from? Like how, if you have 2 trolling motors on your power poles, the power poles, like in your best guess, is that coming off the starting battery? Is that coming off the trolling motor setup?
It's definitely coming off the trolling motor setup because it's falling under what it would need to run on a deep cycle. It's getting a little crazy. Just a little bit. Now, I could see that being a big plus if you fish the Great Lakes or any of big water. I mean, just the power pole at...
Drift socks?
Yeah. I can't remember what they're called, but, I mean, those help if you're up in that region. And I can see that if you want, like, complete boat control, but for the average bass fisherman, you don't really see that being a thing. But if you were going to do that, this wiring system would have to be off of your trolling motor setup, which would probably fall under a 36-volt system.
Damn.
But you would also need the batteries to have a capacity to operate that. So I have seen a few of the Elite Series pros running 3 36-volt, 100 amp hour deep cycles, and it's in parallel. So you've got 36 volts, but 300 amp hours. Now, something like that would be pretty perfect for if you were going to run, motorized, minute power pole trolling motors.
That's so much money. Just like, there's 36 volt. Like I think they're a great idea, but that's just, wow, that's expensive. The one thing I hear online a lot, because that's a place you always go, the comment section for valuable information. A lot of people are hesitant to run just 136 because if it dies, you're really in trouble. Do you think that's misplaced, that fear nowadays? Do you think that they're pretty reliable, or should it be like, wait until you get at least 2 to run in parallel?
So with the 36 volts, and I actually watched a podcast, and I won't say who the company was, but this gentleman was the CEO of a very well-known brand of lithium batteries. And he was even against himself of actually implementing just one. And really, none of the clients that I've talked to have been on board with that. We've really nailed down the 12-volt technology and the 24-volt, but we have not gotten a single 36-volt down to a science to where it's what you would want to say reliable. And you have more things that could go wrong with that 36 just in the engineering of that technology than you would at 12.
And it's interesting you say that because you can get lithiums with over like 120, 140 capacity 12 volt. And if you get 3 of those, I mean, that's a ton of capacity you can get for a 36 volt cross setup.
Right.
And that to me is like where, like, what is the capacity going to be like? I think I saw Lithium Pros has a what they call, I think, their starter Swiss Army knife electronics, which is like a 12 volt, but it almost has like 200 capacity, something just stupid. Is that just going to keep going up and up and up?
Most likely. Yeah, definitely. There's basically a cutoff when you have a 12 volt lithium where I think the max that I've been able to find is somewhere in the hundreds. It's above 100 amp hours, maybe 120, somewhere in that ballpark. But then once you get up to the 30 or up to the 16, that's when you start seeing the 235. You start seeing
insane
in that range, and then once you get the 36, we've only gotten up to 80. I think there's one brand that's got 100 amp hour 36.
Wow.
Maybe Dakota Lithium.
What would you consider like the top brands right now for lithium, if you could say?
So I have 3, and I've put in a lot of research. I've gotten a lot of clientele feedback. My top 3 are Lifetime, which is a very well-known brand, and they're in the marine, RV, golf cart industry. I've done several installs. My clients love them. I have one that I'm going to order soon. Ionic, which is a mid-range price, which the 50 amp hour 12 volts, the 12 volt 100 amp hours, very good reviews. And it's not going to break the bank compared to some of the more well-known brands that you may see on the Elite Series, which are, the 12 volt 100 amp at, $800. My third would be Powerhouse Marine. They're a little bit more expensive than Ionic, but from feedback, reviews, a good friend of mine who runs a business exactly as I do, he's a big believer in them, and he's educated me in Powerhouse. So those are definitely my top 3 picks.
Do any of those brands specifically have like a 16 volt that people could pick from if they want to go the Milliken route?
Yes. Yeah. Powerhouse has 16. Ionic, I do not believe does.
Okay. There you go, guys. That's freaking awesome. What else you got going on?
We've got a 1992 Bass Tracker coming tomorrow. We've got a 2019 Skeeter FX20 coming next week. And then we've got the River Raptor that I got some boat manufacturing updates on today. And we've got that gentleman scheduled out for another month and a half. So we're staying busy, and we're working with several clients at the time. We're just super excited.
If people would like to find you or get a hold of you for an electronic question or to get you to work on their rig, how can they find you?
They can find us at newhorizonboatbuildsllc.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and you can email us at newhorizonboatbuilds@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, guys, we're going to be going for a small commercial break. We're going to be back at 11 a.m. Again, we're going to be back at 11 a.m. for the next round of the show. We're going to get a couple more guests for you here. So again, 11 You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Welcome back, everyone. We are live from the Dale City show trying to help promote all these local amazing bait makers here. And we had a guy that before I leave here, I'm going to spend a ton of money on all of his really cool products. James, I really appreciate you coming on here. Before we talk about the baits, really, can we talk about your business and how this all got started?
Okay. I'm originally from Long Island. I've done a lot of shark and tuna fishing. I was a mate on a charter boat also. As the prices of gas started to increase, I started to fish more inshore for striped bass and bluefish. I started creating popping plugs and walking plugs, primarily for the striped bass and the bluefish and weakfish in the areas. I began to grow farther and farther, retired from my job on Long Island, came down to North Carolina, got deeper into freshwater fishing, got deeper into freshwater fishing lures as well. I continue to fish offshore, and I do flea markets and other fishing shows as well. In these flea markets, I created keychains, corkscrews, bottle openers, a variety of other items that have the fishing scheme, but they're not fishing products.
What got you into this? It's such a cool, I was mentioning it to my wife beforehand. it's almost art. It's lures, but it's also art. And was it just one day you woke up and said, like, I want to do this? Like, how did you even get into this?
Well, I'm an artist ever since I was a kid.
Oh, cool.
My father was a sculptor.
Oh, wow.
At 12 years old, I found a lure in the lake. It was missing hooks. I brought it home, put hooks on it, started to play around with it. I cut it in half. I wanted to see what it looked like. It was jointed. I fished with it for a while, caught some nice fish, and then I lost it. So I decided I'd make another one, the same as the one I lost. And I got a piece of wood, whittled it down to size, using nothing but sandpaper, and started to play with that. Started catching fish on that. I made popping plugs out of corks from wine bottles. About 20 years later, I started getting into bigger type fishing and more fishing that I had to actually buy products for. So I started making more fishing type lures for crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, popping plugs, jointed plugs, freshwater bass. I fish for crappie in the springtime, and I found a way to fish for crappie with popping plugs right on top of the beds.
Really?
So I have a popping plug, which is actually right here. It's very small head. It sits in the water, tail down, and you can cast this right on top of the bed and pop it and aggravate the fish until they grab it.
That's really cool. Can I see it as well? Show this off to two different cameras. That way you get that lovely lure on there. I mean, that's absolutely, gosh, it's so cool. Wow. I love that color. That's really cool. And it's a single hook, too.
Single hook, yes. Another thing about my displays is when I do go to shows, I have the most fantastic colors at every show I go to. I concentrate on varieties. A lot of times in high-pressured areas, people fish the same colors, same type of plugs. My plugs are the opposite colors. So if the fish are only biting bluegills, my plug would be the oddest looking fish and the easiest one for them to
How did you decide on going with a single hook for that versus a treble hook, which a lot of people use for like topwater baits?
Well, for a bass or a crappie, if they swallow the bait deep in the throat, the treble hook as a back hook can get caught in their gills or possibly in their stomach. And they're very difficult to unhook. So for a bait that size, I went for a single hook.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned saltwater. Really, you started out in the saltwater. And that's one bait that I think is interesting that we saw at your booth is the popping cork. Like, how did that start, like a popping cork for redfish? That's something that happens a lot for saltwater, is using a popping cork?
And coming down to North Carolina, I learned a bit more about redfish and people using popping corks. On Long Island, we used to use popping corks for bluefish and for weakfish. So over the years, I find that the fish will often grab the cork itself. So I decided to make a popping cork with a treble hook on the cork. So if the fish grabs the cork, you can catch the fish. If you have a teaser off the back or a jig or anything else, if the fish from the popping action grabs the jig, and then another one in the competitive nature of the fish grabs the cork, now you have the opportunity for a double header.
That's so freaking cool.
Fish are very competitive. Once one fish finds something to eat, the other fish will either try to take it from them or to see if there's anything left for them.
Guys, that's absolutely, I mean, it's honestly, it's like a freaking work of art how you did this. And then guys, yeah, please let me know. I just adjusted the volume. How does the volume sound? Again, this will also be re-uploaded as well. The first thing I got to mention here, this is just, it doesn't even look, it looks like something you mount on your fireplace. The art is so incredible. How long for something like this does it actually take you to make?
The full process with all of the steps involved, since I'm very old school, takes about 7 days.
Wow.
For the full process. Another thing about this popping cork is it has blades on it, which creates a high frequency sound, as well as a flash from the sunlight. It has the beads, which creates a low frequency sound, as well as it creates a clacking sound as you pop it. It also glows in the dark. So you can fish at early dawn and dusk.
That's really cool.
That's one of the amazing things about the popping cork.
That's so freaking cool.
I also have a variety of saltwater baits. This is a swimming plug. I have this swimming plug with a tail on it. And when you cast this plug out into the water, On your first retrieve, this tail creates a dramatic splash. So once the bait hits the water, it attracts the fish attention to them. Then that initial splash attracts it even more. Once it begins to move, it becomes a moving target. Another bass magnet.
And then, so treble hook here. What would you, if someone bought one of these baits from you, how would you rig this? Would you rig it on like 20-pound test monofilament?
I fish light tackle primarily. 25-pound test would be the heaviest I would fish. By being a floating sinking lure, fluorocarbon would be a big advantage. If you're fishing for big fish, I would definitely go with braid.
Definitely go with braid. That's a really cool bait there. And then I believe you also have some other stuff. I think an oyster shucker and a popper. Oh, we go with that one. Perfect.
Okay. This is another popper. This one I designed in the marshes of Long Island, New York, fishing for stripers. One thing I found that during the high tide, the stripers will often come into the bay and go deep into the marsh. In the marsh, they have mosquito drains. In the mosquito drains, they have crabs, they have eels, clams. It's a smorgasbord for the bass when it's high tide. I cast this up into the marsh, cast it up high, it makes a big splash, and that splash draws the attention of the bass to the plug. While it's sitting in the water, it has a tail. The tail will just sit there and just work in the current. That's another attracting factor. Once you begin to retrieve it, it tips forward. You can either pop it or swim it, and as it swims, it creates a wide V-wake behind it. That wide V-wake behind it is the track for the bass to come right towards the lure.
Wow, that thing is so cool looking. That's beautiful. Yeah, background noise, like that's the thing with live streams is there's going to be a little bit of background noise. But again, when I re-upload this, I can cancel that out. That is absolutely, that's such a cool looking bait. That's so cool looking. I love it.
Also, in addition to my products, I have collector's items. One of the collector's items I have are the oyster shuckers. This is an oyster knife, has a safety to protect your hand from being cut against the oyster shell. Very colorful selection of colors.
This is one of my favorite, honestly. I don't know, this is so freaking cool. I love this. And I love you put the eyes on it too, like, oh my God.
All of my products have eyes, the same as the products for fishing.
Oh.
Here I have another item, which is a corn cob holder. Once again, it looks like a fish, has the eyes on it, has beautiful colors, it comes apart, used for corn cob holder.
I want one of those too.
Another thing I have is a combination corkscrew and bottle stopper. This is, once again, same impression of a fish. It's got the eyes. This is a pyramid sort of popper. It unscrews, and inside there's a corkscrew itself. It's a combination corkscrew and bottle stopper.
How well do these sell? Because this is such a I love this idea.
Products sell very well. I keep my items very well priced. For an item like that, many people may charge $50. My price on a custom design corkscrew bottle stopper is $30.
Sorry, that's freaking all. That's cool. That's so freaking cool.
Another item is the bottle opener. For the people who don't drink wine, drink beer, I have a bottle opener. Once again, fish design, fish colors. It's got the eyes. It has a eye in the back so you can hang it. And it's got the church key corkscrew bottle opener.
We got a couple of comments for you. Joseph Burns says, this guy is a genius artist, wonderful work. We also have another comment asking, do you have a website? What's the name of the business again? So if you guys didn't hear it again, please for the people at home, what's the name of your business, and do you have any social media or any way they can get a hold of you?
Name of the business is MX Plugs, Plugs. I'm available on mxplugs.com, available on Instagram and Facebook as well. You can also contact me by name on Facebook. Name is James Counts, Counts. And the website, once again, is MX Plugs.
And then, guys, as always here, I'm going to put a link to this in the episode description when we re-upload it and I get home and I can get through everything here. We got Josh Burns again. He has an econ. I have been a single hook believer for a few seasons now. As he mentioned, it's easier to fish this. Plus, if you are fishing heavy cover, heavy wood, you're not going to have an issue with snags. Absolutely. That's a really good point there. Ooh, I like that one. That's really cool.
And here, I make a variety of larger lures. This happens to be a mouse made for muskie fishing. This is a subsurface swimmer. As it hits the water, it dives down and swims back and forth, creates a wide variety of sound as it wiggles back and forth. And muskie like mice. Largemouth bass like mice also. That's where the origination from this plug came from.
It's a beautiful color. Oh, look at this. That's a beautiful pink. I like that single hook right there. Oh, that's a really cool design. That's such a cool design.
MX plugs are handcrafted, custom designed, and one of a kind.
And James, I know I want to make sure I don't keep you from your booth too long. One other thing, though, I heard, are you into beekeeping? And if so, like, how did you get involved in that? And did that help you at all with your thoughts with this stuff?
I'm a vivid outdoor person. I garden. I have fish ponds in my backyard.
Oh, cool.
I have chickens. I had an opportunity to get a beehive, so I'm the type of person that says, yes, I like a beehive. So I got the bees 2 years ago. My first experience with the bees, I lost a hive to a robbing, from bees robbing the hive. I learned a lot about that. And then the following year, I caught a swarm, put the swarm in a box. I still have the swarm in 2 boxes now.
Oh, wow.
So that was quite interesting. And it's just something else that I continually get into.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Again, guys, link in the episode description to everything that we talked about. James, I can't thank you enough. We're going to go to a 5-minute commercial break, and we're going to be able to bring on our next guest as well. Again, link in the episode description to everything we talked about. 5-minute break, and then we're going to be right back with our next guest.
launch him 80
You
feet
told
in
me
the air.
to boat flip him!
I didn't tell you to launch him 78
I
feet
flipped
in
him
the air.
in the boat, didn't I?
Send it to the moon.
I sent it! You said boat flip him!
Do you fish? No. You know, people who don't fish think that fishing is lazy or boring, but it is the complete opposite. There are 100 little decisions to be made, variables to be considered, and you're never quite sure what made the difference. Did I cast too high, too far to the left? Did I really...
All right, sorry about that, guys. So I adjusted the mic a little bit there. Let me know if that's better or worse. Hopefully that kind of pushed out some of the background noise. Yeah, if anyone knows how to use a Rodecaster Pro 2 and how I can get rid of background noise when I do a massive live stream in front of a ton of people, yeah, please let me know about that. Hopefully the adjustments I made actually made it better and I didn't actually create more of an issue. Knowing me, I probably made things way, way, way worse. Get that thing adjusted there. Perfect. And then get the range cranked up there. Let's get on back to about 13. There we go. That should be a little bit better. All right. How's everyone doing? We have a lot. This has been such a really cool show. And these little shows are just so intimate. And we had this mentioned a couple of times, what shows we're going to be doing. Next year, we're going to probably do Raleigh, then Richmond, and then we're going to do Fredericksburg, and then possibly then Dale City, and then Augusta County. And then I'll pass out because I'll probably be absolutely exhausted by then. If we want to do all these shows, we just got to kind of get it figured out in the whole spectrum of everything. Let me see. Oh, I want to show you this, guys, right here real quick. Right here. Look at this bad boy. I just bought myself this. It is so freaking cool. And then we're going to pick up some wine on the way home is what I said. And then I wrote it down, mxplugs.com. Absolutely super cool. Love that thing. And then we got this bad boy right here. I don't know what this is. This a keychain? It's a keychain. Isn't that neat? I just think all this stuff is so freaking awesome. And then guys, yeah, in the episode description down below, please let me know how the audio sounds right now. Is it better? Is it worse? Is it good? And then let me see. I think we got so many messages. Perfect. Yeah, these things are freaking awesome. But yeah, hopefully that answers you guys' question about what we're going to be doing. So again, next year, in a perfect world, if we hit all of our goals when it comes to getting, we're trying to seek out brand new sponsors of the show to help partner with. So if you're interested in that, you can contact my wife or just fishingthedmv@gmail.com. With those sponsors, we're going to be able to do more live streams and more events at the expos. On top of that, our plans are to do the Augusta County Fishing Expo, Dale City, Fredericksburg, Richmond, and then Raleigh. I think 5 will be the cap for us, but to do that next year, we just got some things that we kind of got to get situated as well. We got some comments down below. Audio sounds good by, got Jimbo Slight. Jimbo, thank you so much for introducing yourself. I really, really enjoy meeting you guys. The one thing that the Richmond Expo really showed me was how important it is now to get out there and do meet and greets. The expos are a great time to do meet and greets as well. We're going to be trying to do that a little bit more as we go forward. And if this is something you guys want to do, maybe not just an expo, maybe we can rent out a bar or a restaurant and do some kind of meet and greet on the water. I think something like that would be kind of cool to do. So we're going to be trying to get that going as well. We got a couple more guests that we're going to have on. We are going to try to end our viewing here with Charlie Taylor, the legend himself. I'm going to get him on probably at the end of the show. Dave Smith, I'm going to try to get on as well. There's so many guests here. And we also have some spinnerbait manufacturers that I really want to get on as well. We have Brian. Let me check. Oh, I'll get my card up here. We got Brian, who does custom rods and repairs. He's going to be coming on the show next. If there's a guest that you'd like to see on the show, and it doesn't have to even be this live stream, please reach out to me. Right now, the plan is I have enough episodes, and with all the episodes I have pre-recorded and new guests we have on, we're going to be cranking up to 3 episodes a week in February. And then, depending on how things go, we're going to be going up to 4 shows. If we get to 100 Patreon subscribers, we're going to be cranking out at least 4 shows throughout the hardcore time of the fishing season, and we might even go up to 5 shows a week. I'm insane, but that's probably the plan. Right now, we are 2 subscribers away from 80 Patreon supporters, which means we're close to only 20. We only need 20 people to sign up for us to hit 100. That's insane. That's how close we are to that. And once we hit that goal, I'm going to be cranking out at least 4 shows a week, maybe even more through the hardcore part of the fishing season coming up, because we have the content. We're going to be covering crappie tournaments that are up there. We got a snakehead tournament trail we're going to be covering, of course, MVKBA, the Potomac Team Series, the Battle of the Border Series. There's so many different electric motor only. We're going to get involved in that heavily. There's a couple of rip and lips, high voltage. There's so many really cool clubs to get in there. And what's so cool about doing those clubs is you learn something. If you have a guy that wins on the Shenandoah River and he talks about how he caught them, that is knowledge that you can gain. Of course, we'll also be doing just biopics, things like that. We got so many great episodes. And then, of course, Patreon-wise, a new series that I'm going to be starting just for my Patreon members is Deep Dives. People love the Sleeter's Lake deep, in-depth video I did about swim jigging at Sleeter's Lake. And what I'm going to be doing for Patreon supporters, they give me ideas on baits they really like, they would like to know more about, and I will do an hour-plus deep dive on that bait, my thoughts on it. We did a great one on spy baits about a month ago. I'm going to do the same thing. And then also for all the tournaments I fished this year, I'm going to do a deep dive just for my Patreon supporters on that as well, including all the other guests. We got so many cool things coming up this year. 2024 is going to be looking absolutely freaking amazing right now. We are going to be trying to go pull some guests out here shortly, because I might have to be grabbing my wife here, believe it or not. But we're going to get more people to come sit down here so we can talk about it. We got Josh Burns. A meetup at Big Pond or local river would be cool. Could be tough if a ton of followers show up. Maybe in RSVP, Camp High Road in Middleburg has a lovely pond stocked with chunky crappies. Joseph, I did not freaking know that. That's awesome. And then maybe just what we do is we leave that up to Patreon supporters, and then we'll do Patreon supporters, and then from the Patreon supporters, whoever RSVPs. That way we can kind of keep the number down, which I think would be really good. We got Joseph again. Maybe talk to Adam at Camp High Road about it. He probably would be open to it. I'm writing that down right now so I can do that. We also have 4RHS better. Would love to know what that means, boss. If you'd like to add a few more words to the word better, that would be awesome, so I know exactly what you're talking about. You just said better. So, my audio. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm trying to mess up with the noise gate. There's this cool feature called noise gate, and I realized what that meant was it limits noise, but I'm afraid to mess up with it way too much. But let me see here. I got so many cool things planned. Hampton Road. Why not Hampton Road? We got 4RHS. Why not Hampton Roads? Is Hampton Roads, are you talking about for a fishery or for a meetup? Let me know in the comment section down below what you mean by that. What we're going to do here is we are going to get one more guest on, and then we're going to take probably a commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up the show with Charlie Taylor. So, Carly, who should our next guest be? Brian, yeah, we got to go. Actually, you want to go grab him? I could. Would you like to do that right now? Because we have 25 people watching on Facebook. Grab him, and then we'll take a commercial break. But yeah, try to go grab Brian. Yeah, you want to come on over here? Never mind. Good job. Yeah. So if you want to go tell, those people that after this, we'll come right over. Awesome. Yeah, guys, absolutely. Yeah, but 4RHS, please let me know what you mean by Hampton Roads. Is that a place to fish or not? Yeah, and then we got, guys, I can't believe we got 40 people watching between Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Absolutely awesome. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Really helps out in the algorithm. And then, yeah, we are only 2 Patreon supporters away from hitting 80, which would be awesome. So please, if we could hit that today, that would be so awesome. It really helps support the show. We're got here to our next guest. And Brian, all you gotta do, have a seat right there and put on these headphones. We can hear each other a little bit better there. There, perfect. So again, really, without further ado, let me pull up the 2 camera angles right here. We have, I mean, honestly, just for everyone at home, just introduce yourselves. How did you get into this?
So, hey, my name is Brian Warfel. How I got into it was I had a rod mentor, a rod building mentor that I'd always grab everybody's rods from down here because he lived way up by the Upper Bay, and I worked up there. So I'd take everybody's rods, like 15 rods every time, to the rod father, and he would fix them for us. And then the next week when I was up there for work, I'd grab them. And I was always interested and fascinated in rod repair and rod building. And so over the course of a couple of years of working with him, I got interested and finally got off my butt to take the mud hole course. It's a 2-day course, and I built my first rod, and I was like, oh my God, I can do this. So, so I started about 2 years ago and built my first rod, and then I was like, well, let me build a couple more for myself. And then I said, well, maybe I can like build for other people or fix rods for other people. Like you've had Alex Borowski on before, and you know, he's one of my best customers for fixing rods, and so I fixed a bunch of his rods.
Alex, does that also mean how many rods you break?
And you know, I fixed for Andrew Redding, I fixed him, and Matt McCluskey, I fixed a couple of his rods as well, and made him a custom rod too.
I do love, because a few of us know Mr. McCluskey, but we always just say the Matt. Like it's so funny that that's your brand. Just everyone knows who we're talking about with him. But I love ragging on you, boss. But anyway, yeah, like I think I bumped into you 4 weeks ago, like at Lake Frederick, actually.
Correct. Yeah.
And then we'll segue into the rods with that. But yeah, what did you think of that? Was that your first time doing the Demiki rig live scoping thing there?
Yep, absolutely. It was well, not my first time, but it was close to my first time. And you know, Matt really kind of showed me how good he was and how bad I was. And so, but it kind of got me hooked. And you know, I'm running LBS 34 on my Phoenix, and then also on my John boat build that I'm getting ready. So I'm going to be competing in the res tournaments this year.
Oh,
so,
the Matt donation fund. Yeah.
So anyways, I've gotten pretty good with it over the last year, and then I've just got off the winter series at Lake Anna.
How'd that go?
It went okay. I mean, we cashed 4 checks.
It's not bad.
Two for bass, 2 for striper, but hey, it's a check. A check is a check, you know. So I really scoped pretty much every single one of my fish this year on Anna, and a lot of it was either drop shot, shaky head, or Demiki. So.
And I think that's a great segue, because you actually showed off one of your rods that you had for the Demiki rig. Did you practice the Demiki rig and then you made a rod for it, or like how did that come together with the rod that you were using?
No, so I built the rod just because I wanted a really good drop shot rod, and it's perfect for a drop shot. And I threw the Demiki on there because I didn't know what any other rod to like fish with it on, and it's quite frankly great for that.
It feels really good in the hand.
So,
it does.
Like I was telling some other folks earlier, I've gotten a 612 on it, a 603, a 55, a 503, all on this rod, and all in the course of the last 2 months at Lake Anna, and it's performed I can't even say the word. Really well. So yeah, it's my favorite build. I've built 3 or 4 for other people, and so for instance, like since May, I've fixed over 140 rods.
Good Lord.
And I've built about 26 custom rods so far.
It's such a really cool business to get in. Not even like you don't have to do it full time, you can do it part time, but there is such a neat little niche there for just repairing rods, not just also custom building, but how many times when I was young, like I would break an eye on my rod and like, I'm just gonna chuck the damn thing away. It never occurred to me like, I could just get someone to fix it and save me some money. And it's just like, that's such a brilliant niche to be in, because everyone has smashed a rod into a rod locker, popped an eye, something like that. And it's such a nice thing to be in, because yeah.
Well, a matter of fact, this rod that I'm using for the Demiki and my drop shot rod actually has a repaired tip. It broke down about 3 inches from the top, thanks to Alex Borowski. But I got it warranted, so I got the blank at home, and I never rebuilt it because I just splinted this one, and I've caught all those big fish on this, and it hasn't affected the sensitivity at all.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so
did you want to go through some of the blanks or your pictures first, or
Sure.
what would you like to go through?
Yeah, so I could just go through the pictures real quick.
Perfect.
I don't know.
Oh, I can hold them up if you want.
Okay. So here's like an example of an old rod that somebody really cared for and they wanted me to rebuild. And so I went through it and assessed it and triaged it and figured out what I need to do with it. Basically all I needed to do with it, I had to refinish it and re-epoxy the guides because I had a really wonderful cross wrap work on it. And he wanted the rod also extended by 6 inches. So if you flip over to the next page, that shows kind of like the end product of how I did the whole adding the 6 inches to the butt of the rod, as well as putting a whole new single cork on it. And the finished product, I think, is the far picture to the right. But so the next one, I think is that like a Dioestes black rod? Yep. So that one is broken by one of my customers. Probably know him, Rob Craig.
Yeah.
And so he ran over it with a truck, and so I had to cut off the end of that, and I had to put an inner sleeve and outer sleeve, and basically sanded it down, made sure everything was fitting perfectly, put a bunch of thread on it and epoxy, and it's stronger than ever. And so flip to the next page. This is this one was drying in the rod dryer, so did pretty good work on it, I think. He was very happy, and it saved a very expensive rod for him.
Again, like, this is a brilliant idea. That if you haven't yet, guys, don't throw a rod away just because there's something beat up on it. Go to somebody to get that thing repaired and save yourself a little bit of money.
So this next picture, I don't know what it is. Okay, oh, that was like a very custom rod that I did for a high school buddy of mine that finally retired from the military, and so I did a surprise rod for him and built it up in an Army theme, and did a whole bunch of inlays and did a bunch of custom stickers and text on it. But
That's so cool.
yeah, that one took me a little while because you have the cross wraps, and the cross wraps take a little while to do. But something like that, a very specialty rod, is going to be a little more expensive than, let's say, just a custom rod that I'm going to show here that I put together that doesn't have all this intricate wraps and stuff. So this next picture is a picture of a University of Virginia rod, UVA rod that I did for a client, and he wanted to give it to his son for a graduation gift. And
oh, that's neat.
Yeah, that was my very first real custom, if you will, job. And so I made him a deal. I said, listen, I said, truth in lending. I said, I've been doing this for about 4 months. I said, I can do it. And so I said, if I can't do it, I'll look it up at YouTube or call my rod mentor. And so I ended up getting that done, and he was extremely happy, and he gave me a tremendous amount of money for it, probably too much, but it was awesome. And I was very happy. He came back for another one. I did another West Virginia Mountaineers rod
really?
for him. Yeah.
That's actually a neat little niche to think.
Yeah.
I never thought about custom college rods.
And then this one was a Buffalo Bills rod that I did for a coworker of mine. He wanted to give to his dad, so for his birthday gift. And that one was they're all unique and kind of fun. I don't know how I'm going to start or how I'm going to do the cross wraps, and because you try to play around with colors and try to get the right colors and sometimes they don't go together, but so far I've only had to cut off one of the cross wraps. But a cross wrap will generally take me about 2 hours to do. That's the fancy decorative work. And but normally a rod takes me about 6 to 7 hours from start to finish to get it done.
That is so cool. That's a healthy amount of time, honestly, to put a rod together.
Yeah, and so this picture right here just kind of gives an indication of like in the butt cap, I put in recessed in like a coin or something. Like this one was a Marine Corps build. I did a custom Marine Corps rod too. So that's kind of gives some of the things I could do.
That's so freaking cool.
So a lot of my work is tips and guides, and you know, that's pretty easy stuff. But then I can also do a little more complex stuff as well.
What should people be looking for? What type of rod do you think needs the most detail? Because nowadays, every technique, you can get a specific rod. But I feel like in a lot of situations, and I could be wrong, you can have a rod that's a Swiss Army knife. However, there are things like a punching rod that's pretty much you need something that's built like like a broomstick. When it comes to spinning gear, what technique definitely needs this technique you definitely need something specialized for it?
I'd say drop shot.
Drop shot?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because you want something that's going to have enough backbone, but then also be limber enough to absorb a lot of the fight, if you will. I just think drop shot rod, it's got to be very specific.
Can you use, and I think you just mentioned this, we'll just mention it again since we have so many more people that just joined in. You use that drop shot rod for multiple things, right? Like a Damiki rig and other techniques kind of like in that?
Yeah, so I've used it for Ned and drop shot and then Damiki.
Okay, interesting.
I wouldn't use it for a shaky head just because that one doesn't have enough backbone, or the tip is a little bit softer.
Interesting. So what would you use, like a shaky rig rod? Would you just use that for a shaky head, or is there different techniques you could use it with that as well?
I'd pretty much just use it for a shaky head. I don't know. I'm just that way. I use a few rods just for certain techniques.
Is that the same thing when it comes to like your chatterbait rod, a crankbait rod? Like, are you just going to give them all a specific thing, or is there what bait casting rod would you consider more like a Swiss Army knife?
I would say this rod right here is pretty good Swiss Army knife. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, you can see it right there.
So it's built off of North Fork Composites blank, and it's the MB 705-1, so it's a 5 power. So it's a medium. It's a medium heavy fast, but I use it for buzz baits, but I can also use this for worming, throwing a worm in the grass on the Potomac, or I could use it for a popper too. So I mean, this is kind of like the Swiss Army, I think. 7 foot, 5 power rod from North Fork Composites, which is Gary Loomis's new company, or not that new, but newer company. After he sold G. Loomis, he started making North Fork composite rods, and also started up his company, Edge Rods, if you've heard of them. So he uses all of his North Fork blanks in his Edge rods. So so this rod right here, I think in an Edge version of this rod, he sells it for like almost $400. I mean, they're expensive.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. But see, I could do this custom made rod right here, and it's basically an Edge rod. And I could do it for a lot cheaper than that.
Again, guys, that's why you need to go find somebody that does custom work. Brian, again, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, we still got a couple more guests that we're going to be trying to get on today. If people would like to find you, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. So if you could show the card, my phone number is 703-850-7421. My last name, Warfel, W-A-R-F-E-L, .brian@gmail.com is my email address if you want to email me. I'm also on Facebook as well. I live in Occoquan, so right down the road from here, so I'm pretty centrally located, and I've been fixing a lot of rods for a lot of guys up here.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on, guys. This is what
Thank
we're
you.
going to be doing. We're going to be going to a commercial break here, and then we will be coming back here in about an hour. Yeah, we're going to be coming back here at probably 12:30, 1 o'clock. To finish up here at the Dale City Show. I'm going to try to see if I can get the man, the myth, the legend, Charlie Taylor on. I've been hyping him up for a while. Hopefully he's still here, and we can get him on the show. Getting through some of these questions, because there's like so many questions here. Joseph Barnes, snapped the uppermost eyelet on a St. Croix I have. Honestly, the action is better now. It was a 5-foot noodle now. It's about 4'6'8" and has a much firmer action to it. Absolutely awesome. What? Yeah, so the comment was, Joseph Barnes says, I snapped the uppermost eyelet on a St. Croix I have. Honestly, the action is better now. It was a 5-foot noodle. Now it's a 4'6'8" broomstick, which has much firmer action to it. Caught my PB snakehead on it. Joseph, you just want a gift card to Jake's Bait and Tackle. Please message me on Facebook or Instagram to get it. That's freaking awesome. Guys, I'm going to get to all your comments a little bit later. Again, we're going to go on a break. I will be back. Yeah, we're live. Yeah, we have like 30 people watching right now. All right, perfect. Guys, this show has been absolutely fun. We're here finishing up our live coverage of the Dale City Fishing Expo. This thing will, of course, be re-uploaded as a separate podcast episode. This is a guy that I've wanted to get on again. I mean, the man, the myth, the legend, Charlie Taylor. Sir, this is a amazing show that you guys put on here. Hopefully it was a good turnout for you.
We had a very good turnout, and it was a buying crowd, which is great for our kids, since all profits go to the kids' derby.
That derby you put on has helped so many people. It's absolutely amazing that it's been going on for so long.
33 years.
That's crazy.
And still going. We're just recovering from the COVID era when we couldn't have it during that time, but it's coming back. Hopefully we can back up to our 250 or 300 kids this year.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Do you have any memories from the derby that really stick out to you in your mind with all the ones that you've put on?
Do I have any memory of
which derbies? Do any derbies stick out in your mind that you remember?
Yes, a number of them. Back before they redid Lake Fairfax, they had a small one-story building there with just a little cover over it. And it started raining. And all of the parents were all concerned. The kids were just as happy as they could be. 150 kids, none of them wanted to go home. When the parents wanted to drag them, they were crying. So all of a sudden, all of the kids stayed. They convinced their parents to let them stay. Since then, every time it's rained, we tell the parents, rain or shine, and we never have any problems. It's just great. A couple of other times, I guess the number one outstanding was the year a 10-year-old girl won the total.
You're kidding.
She was a little blonde, freckle-faced little girl, had a beautiful smile. And that particular derby, we had Jim Vance from WTOP TV anchor as the guest who presented the prizes, and he put the little girl and her parents on the news that night for all of Northern Virginia on WTOP TV.
Oh, that's such a great story.
It's just a fantastic thing.
How did you ever, and maybe I asked you this before and I apologize, how did you get with Lake Fairfax? How did that relationship happen?
We actually didn't start off at Lake Fairfax.
Oh, right.
We started off at, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but out in between Sterling and Ashburn, there's a Verizon building, commercial building.
Okay.
And our club was asked to stock the pond in front of their building. So one of our tournaments, we took our catch in aerated live wells and took them out to the pond and stocked the pond.
That's one way to do it, yeah.
Then, let's see, after that only lasted 1 year. Then we went to, I think, South Lake in Reston and fished there for 2 years. And then we lost that as well. The Reston Association asked us to no more, so we ended up at Lake Fairfax. And we just went in and asked them. I'm not great on saying this can't happen. I remember one time the benefit tournament for St. Jude's Hospital was being held on the Potomac. And I knew that Jimmy Houston was always a participant in that. So I called a friend who I know was a good friend of Jimmy Houston, and asked him if we could get Jimmy Houston to stop by the kids' derby and talk to him. And he said, no, he's too busy. He'll never be able to do it. And I said, well, I understand that perfectly, but just in case, could we ask him? Jimmy Houston came to the show, or the derby, and instead of staying an hour, he stayed 4 hours.
Wow.
It's just unbelievable. Super, super guy. All the kids were thrilled, and the parents were even more thrilled, particularly the guys.
That's so cool. You're right, because you never know until you ask.
Right. I used to call the Washington Redskins, and I had many Redskins out at the derbies. We have DC United people out there. There was one particular news anchor I wanted on, but I was never able to get her. I forgot her name at the moment. It's been a while.
You, I think we talked maybe off air one time about your relationship with Lake Manassas and stuff.
Oh, yes.
Is it true did you get in a little trouble with some people, I guess, with your coverage of that place?
Yes, I received a phone call. I used to do a fishing report for all of the public bodies of water in the state of Virginia every week. And I had reporters all over the state that would call me with fishing reports, and I would digest them and edit them and put them in the report. And one particular day, I got a call while I was on the water guiding from the mayor of Manassas, who told me that if he ever saw a fishing report on Lake Manassas again under my byline, that he would have me locked up for trespassing.
Why?
Because at the time, it was illegal for anyone to fish on Lake Manassas. They closed the lake because it was Manassas' water supply, and they were afraid of terrorism, somebody putting poison in the lake. So now they pay $90,000 a year for police to ride around on the lake and keep people off it.
That is the most, you can't make that up.
And it is probably the best fishing lake in Northern Virginia.
Wow. Do you have any, have you ever fished? Did you used to fish it ever?
Absolutely. Used to have a tournament every Wednesday night tournament. It would start at 6 o'clock in the evening and end at midnight. And it was a pot type tournament. You know, you could enter it X number of dollars, and the winner, the angler who brought in the largest bass won the pot.
Wow.
And the largest catfish won the pot, unless the largest bass was bigger than the catfish, and in that case, he got all of it. Well, I had the lake record for the catfish at one time, and my partner had the lake record for walleye. He had a 9 and an 8.
Dang.
Both on the same night.
That's crazy.
Along with a 6.5 pound bass.
That's a lot in that lake. I didn't realize that lake was so good.
Oh, that lake was super. It was no problem at all to catch a limit of bass in 100 yards on a buzzbait.
Wow.
I fished the lake, I think, 4 years before I ever bothered to turn on the depth finder on my John boat. And the day I turned it on, I found an underwater forest.
Really? Wow.
Trees growing off the bottom 5 feet under the surface of the lake.
That's insane.
I didn't know they were there. I started fishing there. It was right at the entrance to the canal where the boat launch ramp was.
Oh my God, that's so freaking cool. Like
crappie, oh, huge crappie in there. Beautiful, beautiful lake.
What? Lake Brittle. That was a place that my aunt Vicky, she used to take me when I was a kid. We go catfishing and stuff.
Right.
And that place has gotten so developed.
Yes, it has.
Have you ever heard from it in the last couple of years? Is it still have fish in it? Or is
Yes.
it does?
There are still fish in it. It is clear in the down lake areas, and you have an awful lot of slop on the bottom of it. The black algae that gets all over your baits, but there are good fish coming out of there. Walleye, bass, and at one point, big pickerel.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Now, I haven't heard anything about the pickerel recently, but I don't get a lot of reports anymore since I've shut down my fishing report.
Yeah, I remember reading that report. And there's the coverage you had. How did you get? Was it just you get one person to go to one lake? Did you drive around to every single lake to get the reports, or did you?
From fishing with the various clubs that I've started over the years, I would meet people at the ramp who fished there on, 2 or 3 times a week. And I would ask them if they would mind just calling me with a report. This was before big-time internet usage, so everything was by telephone within. But I just developed a list of anglers who fish those bodies of water 2 or 3 times a week. And I used them rather than guides and tackle shops because they really didn't care whether you fished that body of water or not. In fact, they prefer it if you didn't. So they told the truth. If the fishing was bad, they told me it was bad. And I published it that way. If they said the fishing is good, so be it. But I stayed away from specific baits because when you deal with guides and tackle shops, in a lot of cases, they're going to put you on to whatever is stocked in their back room that they can't sell.
Yeah. That's so freaking true. That's been crazy how much that's changed over the years. I mean,
I'll never forget the one reply I got from a gentleman who was an employee of some big company in like Lynchburg. And he said he kept reading my report and he had never seen a report that worked out almost perfectly with his success. And he said, as a result, he started posting my fishing report on the bulletin board at the factory. He said, there's 300 people reading that report every day.
That's insane. What was for people that don't know, what was your experience in writing before you got into the fishing report?
I was guiding on the Potomac River, both upper and lower. And I had a call from a gentleman who asked me if I minded taking out older people. I said, no problem. He said, could you meet me at such and such a place, a gas station, where I'm taking my car to have it repaired? I said, no problem. So I showed up and met him that day, and we were going out on the upper Potomac, out of Algonquian Regional Park. And we got in the boat, and instead of going out of Algonquian, I went around the Maryland side, went across the ferry, White's Ferry, and put in over there. And this gentleman got in the boat, no problem. I looked at him and assumed he was maybe 60, 65, something of that nature. And he had a leather tackle box and a leather fly rod case.
Wow.
And he got in the boat. I took him upstream near the Dickerson power plant, and he started putting together his fly rod and stringing the line. And I looked at the fly rod and I noticed it was split bamboo, and the snake guides were held on with plastic electrical tape. And I'm thinking, boy, that's a beat up rod. And then he made the first cast, and I knew I was in the presence of an expert, and told him so. And he told me, he said, well, you know, you get to be pretty good when you've been using the same rod for 50 years.
Damn.
And I said, 50 years? How old are you? He said, 84.
Wow.
And in the first 10 minutes, he had a 4.5 and a 5 pound smallmouth on the fly rod. We drifted on down the river. He caught a bunch more fly rod, and he said, Charlie, are there any largemouth in here? I said, yeah. Down at the intersection just below White's Ferry, there's a bunch of lily pads down there that normally hold a decent largemouth or two. He said, can we go down there? I said, sure. As we were drifting down, we passed a farm just above White's Ferry that had a bunch of cattle in it. And he says, boy, that's a nice herd of full-bodied black deer. They were black Angus cattle. And we got down, he made 2 or 3 casts into those lily pads and pulled out a 5 pound largemouth. And he said, okay, I'm through. I said, we haven't been fishing more than an hour and a half. He said, Charlie, I like quality over quantity. And I'm not able to stay out here all day. He said, so I've had a great time. He said, and I'm going to do an article on the trip. I said, an article? He said, yes, I'm the outdoor editor of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and a former president of the Outdoor Writers Association.
Wow.
He says, have you ever thought about writing? I said, no. He says, you ought to. You tell beautiful stories, and you ought to be an outdoor writer. He says, tell you what, you come, all right. He said, we will get together next week. Make it Wednesday about noon. I met him Wednesday at noon. He had his typewriter with him. And I told him, I said, you know, I don't know how to write a story. He said, yes, you do. You just don't know it. He said, you see this typewriter? Again, this is before internet now. He says, talk to that typewriter as if it was a person.
Damn, that's cool. That's cool.
And I did. In the meantime, he wrote an introductory article. He said, now take this to your local newspaper and tell them you'd like to do a fishing column for them. I did. The sports editor loved it. He said, let's go with it. And I was on the staff of the Reston Times for the next 20 years.
But I need, before, and we got so many people in the comment section here. Brandon Sully says, like, I need to hear some stories. Do you have like 2 or 3 stories that you'd be willing to tell for everybody?
I probably got 200 or 300.
Oh my goodness.
One of them I dearly love. I had a woman call me and ask me to book a trip on the Potomac for she and her husband. And she says, I just have one little problem. I said, what's that? She says, I'm 9 months pregnant. I said, well, we can do it, but you need to understand a couple of things. Once we get on the water, you're an hour away from a hospital. And Charlie doesn't deliver babies. She said, that's all right, I'll take the chance. So we put in just below Woodrow Wilson Bridge, put the boat in the water, dropped the trolling motor, and started fishing. And the lagoon just below the marina is just solid grass. And the hard line of grass at the drop-off was just straight up and down. And if you drop a plastic worm at the edge of the grass, you watch your line stream off, pick up the fish, and drop it in the boat. I probably had 15 or 20 fish. Her husband had 15 or 20 fish, and she didn't catch a fish all day. And I tried to work with her, and she said, Charlie, my big problem is when I feel that tap, tap, I don't know whether it's a fish or the baby kicking. It was a tremendous day. Another time, a husband and wife combination, we put in a Pohick Bay and ran all the way up to Washington. Once we got up there, we fished in the spoils area and around Woodrow Wilson Bridge and caught a bunch of largemouth. And then all of a sudden, she mentioned that it was her husband's birthday, and it was a birthday present for him, the trip. And she really wanted to get him a striper. Well, the tide was wrong at the time. I said, but we can give it a try. Well, we went over to the bridge, Woodrow Wilson Bridge, and fished the channel, the wood barriers on the side of the bridge during the channel. And she came up with a 9-pound striper. We couldn't get another one.
Wow.
But she did catch a 9-pounder. It was getting late, so we head back to Pohick Bay. And just before we go to the ramp, I knew where there was a submerged barge. So I pulled in there, and they were using my equipment. And I said, I need you to cast right there. And both of them did. And she's talking to me, paying no attention whatsoever to her rod. And all of a sudden, it almost got jerked out of her hand. And she says, oh, I've got a fish. And she raised the rod tip. And I said, what I want you to do is take up the slack and set the hook. And she did. And when I saw the bend in the rod, it being my rod, I knew it was a good fish. I said, now I want you to take up the slack again and set the hook again. And I made her set the hook 4 times. And she said, why am I doing this? And I said, you'll see in just about a minute. She got the fish to the side of the boat, and it was just over 7 pounds.
Wow. Jeez.
Wonderful trip.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Yeah, we got some time. Okay, one more story. One more story. Okay. Had a professional fisherman booked me for a practice day before his tournament. And we put in at Belhaven Marina just below Woodrow Wilson Bridge. And at that time, the milfoil was growing all the way out to the channel edge from the marina. And I went out to the channel edge, and there's one point where the tide just washed by it beautifully. So I pulled out Bagley crankbaits and fished parallel to that point of milfoil. And we had, 6 or 7 fish in the 2.5 to 4 pound class. And, we continued, we fished other places. At the end of the day, when I took them back to shore, he said, Charlie, if you're fishing the tournament tomorrow, where are you going to fish? I said, that point of milfoil. You sit there all during the outgoing tide, you're going to catch fish all day long, and they're quality fish. And he said, oh, okay, well, that's what I'll do.
Well, the next day I had another client and I put in at Bellhaven, and I go over to that point, he's not there. And we're at the best tide. My client that day had 12 fish, including 1 over 6 off that point. That professional fisherman ended in the high 40s in the tournament. He never went to that point.
That's crazy.
And I've had so many people do that. I had another one, guy who used to write for the Journal newspapers. He wanted me to take him out and show him Mattawoman Creek. So I did. I took him to one particular spot, and at that one spot, I told him there are always a school of 10 or 11 and a half inch bass here. You can catch 30 or 40 fish here in a day, but you'll be lucky if you ever get a keeper. The next day, I had a client out, a little boy, probably 7 or 8 years old, had a 17-pound limit.
Wow.
On small crankbaits. The tide got wrong, so we moved on down to fish another spot, and we went by that spot, and here's that rider right on that spot. I asked him how he was doing. He says, well, I probably caught 20 fish, but I can't get a keeper. Duh.
Oh my gosh. This is...
It proves the old adage, you can lead a fish to, or a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
That's what's so nice about sometimes an angler, it's their first time out. They're gonna listen, they're gonna take your advice, and they're gonna implement it.
Now, do you have another minute?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I used to take people out on the Chesapeake Bay on a charter boat. Mm-hmm. And I was friends with a bunch of Fairfax County police. And the captain asked me to take out a group of officers and their wives and kids. And I said, no problem. So the wives and kids rode with the captain in his tricked out van while the officers rode with me in my Chrysler station wagon. We went down, got aboard the boat. Now, on the way down, I told the officers, I said, now, gentlemen, I want you all to understand one thing. I don't want to hear any whining when your wives and kids catch all the fish and you don't catch any. Well, of course, they all bust out laughing. That's never going to happen. We go aboard the boat. For the first hour and a half, not a single officer caught a fish while the wives and kids were catching fish hand over fist.
Wow.
And the lieutenant came to me and said, Charlie, you told us this would happen. How did you know? I said, it's simple. You guys know everything in the world about fishing. The wives and kids don't know anything, and they follow directions.
You like that one? Oh my gosh. All right, so we got just enough time here because we're gonna have to pack up, guys. Do you have one more story for everyone at home? Just one more?
One more story, boy. It's tough on the on the spur of the moment to think of things. Oh, okay. Chickahominy River. We were talking about it just a little while ago. A friend of mine was fishing the BASS circuit, and he decided that he wanted to go down to the Chick to fish just normal fishing. I said, okay, I'll go with you. We went down to the Chick, and he has this fancy Ranger bass boat. He has a place that he loves to fish, all cypress trees. And he loves to flip. So he gets right tight up to the cypress trees and he's flipping, catching fish, no problem. Well, at one point, the wind's blowing a little bit and moving the boat around, the back end of the boat. This is before power poles. But at one point, the back end of the boat swung around close to the trunk of this cypress tree, and of course the limbs are there, and I look at one of the limbs and I see a nice big water snake.
Oh God.
As big as my arm with about 5 males wrapped around it. It was the birthing season.
Oh my gosh.
And then I looked at the branch next to it, and here's another one with a bunch of snakes. Within my arm's length, there were 30-some snakes. And I turned around and I said, Jim, you know, I don't mind snakes, but 30 of them right in my face is a little bit much. He turned around and looked at those snakes, and I thought he was going to jump off the boat.
Charlie, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I appreciate it so much. Guys, again, please go help support the youth program they have here. New Horizon Bass Association. It's link in the episode description, as always, to everything that we're talking about here today. We are done with our live stream. If you'd like to go support the show, we are only 20 Patreon supporters away from hitting our first goal. Once we hit 100, which again, we're only 20 away from, Fishing DMV will be set. It'll go on forever. We just need to hit that 100, and we're so close. Like and subscribe to the channel, guys, and we'll see you next time on Fishing the DMV. This stream is over. Bye. And